The second day of the Pro Football Minicamp, you're watching the 6th and 7th graders. They are just starting their competitive part of the camp, so they've just spent 2 days doing a bunch of skill development, and now they've put on their NFL jerseys. Everybody behind me is either Chicago Bears, Indianapolis Colts, Cincinnati Bengals, or the Detroit Lions. Maybe I have some Cleveland Browns, actually.
Okay.
Anyway, so they're all broken into teams and they play a competitive flag tournament, and then we have some prizes for the winners. But before this, they did all skill training, and then the 8th graders who are doing a high school transition camp are on the other field, and they're also not playing competitive games, but they did a high school transition program, so they're actually being coached by high school coaches, getting an idea what it will be like next year when they play in high school. All of the kids out here yesterday morning came in early, and no one paid money to be a part of the camp, but they all had to give their time and do what we call a servant leadership experience. So every year we facilitate a program where we try to engage all of our kids with great examples of servant leadership in our community. And yesterday we went out to the PSA, and we had foreign police and fire and a number of different other law enforcement groups there, and they basically engaged with our kids for, call it 3.5, 4 hours, just giving our kids a chance to see like what it actually would look like to be a police officer or to be a fireman. Or so the kids learned CPR. The kids learned. We got to do some fun exercises with they had a tracking dog that I put my cell phone and my car keys in a Ziploc bag, and I left and I went and hid in the building, and they took my cell phone with the dog, smelled this phone and my keys, and actually the dog came and found me in a completely different part of the building.
That's so
which was really cool. So the kids got to see that, but they get exposed to they get to see like all the different technology that the law enforcement use. They're out using the drones and all kind of stuff. They got to see some of the different equipment that the police officers use, and the firemen had all their equipment out there. So the kids just get immersed in a good example of what it may mean to actually serve the community in those capacities. And our goal every year is that when they walk away from that, they think differently about the way that they engage with the community. So rather than thinking of how do I consume and consume and consume, can we give them an experience that maybe makes them start thinking about maybe how they could serve. And so every year we try to do something different, and this is what we did this year, and it came out great. One of my favorite comments I heard, one of the kids were talking afterwards, and one of the kids said that he had never actually talked to a police officer before, and that it was completely different than what he thought the police officers were, and he was talking about how cool the gentleman was. But if your only exposure to law enforcement is what you see on TV or in pop culture, right now that's probably not very positive. So I thought it was a really cool exercise yesterday that we went through. And so once the kids finish that, they've paid their tuition for camp, and then for the rest of the weekend they're getting taught football. We try to, that's a pretty good play right there. We do our best to put the best coaches around them. So if you look, I mean, Chad Zolman right there from Homestead, there's a bunch of the best coaches in the area are out here. And they're out here every year because they want to invest in these kids. So we give them that. They're fed really well. We give them all their gear and equipment. That's a really big deal to kids these days, is as much swag as you can give them. So they all take all their stuff home. But our goal is just for them to have a really good experience out here, hopefully continue to play football into high school, and then benefit from all the character traits that come from being a part of a team sport like football. So.
Absolutely. Can you tell me why is it so important to get these kids engaged in football and getting these coaches out?
So it's our belief that the game of football teaches life skills that classrooms don't teach, that job skill training doesn't teach. There's so many things these kids get to learn when they're a part of a team out here, working with other people towards a common goal, working with good, competent, healthy adult males, which are common with football coaches, but we've had female coaches as well, but just good adult relationships that are made out of it, where these kids have there's just so many traits that are taught that have nothing to do with blocking or tackling. Every one of these guys' football careers are going to end, but they're going to take stuff from their time here that are going to serve them greatly when they're fathers, when they're business owners, when they're employees, when they're teachers, whatever they're going to do in our community later on. This makes them better contributors to our community. That's what we believe. Football requires a servant mentality. You literally have to do the best you can do to make everyone else's job easier. If you fail at your task, you mess up everyone else's. There's so many skills and things that are taught and that they're exposed to that you can't get elsewhere. So that's why we want them to keep playing. No offense to the coaches, I don't really care about wins and losses. I know they do, which is fine, but I'm much more interested in are we helping developing good, strong, solid young men. So,
Absolutely.
and I don't mean to say that to eliminate women from, it's just women don't generally gravitate towards football. We do about every other year we have one or two, and it's always fun. but it's predominantly males, and so that's why I say men. But
yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me, how has your past experiences impacted how you serve today with this?
Well, I mean, what I'm talking about, I got to experience, and so I know that the things that those skills and traits that I've used today as a father, as a business owner, as a philanthropist, as just a member of a community in a neighborhood, are things that I learned, some of them on this exact field when I was in high school, and some of them on that field over there, and some when I was in college. But this, I mean, there are men out here coaching right now that were influences on me as a player that are now serving kids, years and years after I came through. There's just no substitute to that. So I'm actually just trying to replicate the experience that I had for a lot of these guys. And same with Edmund O'Neill is the executive director. He had a very similar experience. He's from Michigan, but he had a really great experience in his youth with athletics. He got his, he went to Stanford and played football and got his, college paid for, and is obviously, I think anybody in Fort Wayne that knows him would say he's a significant contributor to our community from a service mentality. So that's the thing. We're just trying to replicate opportunities for kids to have the same experience we did, and then they can go manifest it however they want and whatever they choose to do in their life. But that's the bottom line of it for us, is just try to recreate that thing that served us so much.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't touch base on?
Well, I think there's a misconception that I do a lot more than I do. I realize that commonly people end up talking to me about it, but I've had sponsors we realized today we started doing we started our first program in 2004. So 14 years ago we started doing things that evolved into this, and I've had literally some of the same sponsors for 14 years. I've had some for 10, some for 12, some for 9. Sometimes I don't even reach out to people, and they're already they'll, before I even send a solicitation letter to them for the following year's support, they're already in. So there are a group of sponsors and people here in this community that make this possible. These coaches make this possible. All I do is collect it all in a basket and regurgitate it. But it is a testament to the great companies and individuals that support us that make this work. I have less work to do now than, it's just machine runs really, really well, and sometimes I feel guilty because I'm like, I should have to do more, right? But it's because of all the people that take care of us and make this happen. So.